Hello everyone, today we're going to be doing the Nocturnal machine. It was released as medium difficulty, but was then lowered to easy. It's a Linux machine. It is retired, hence why I am making this video. Let's get right into it. First, let's make note of my IP, 10.10.14.4. I'll have to memorize that for stuff later. We will now export the Nocturnal machine IP, so I don't make a mistake typing it later. This just saves it as a variable. Now if we echo, we see the value stored there. Let's start off scanning it. I like using RustScan. It's just my scanner of choice. Of course, you can just use simple Nmap if you'd like. We see port 22 and port 80 are open. It's now running the Nmap scripts. There we go. Here's the result. So we see just port 22 and port 80, and it's redirecting to nocturnal.htb. So let's make sure our host file is up to date. Now let's navigate to the site. I'm going to use Burp's built-in browser for this, and we are presented with this login page. We see a login and register feature. Let's see. Invalid username or password. Okay, either admin and root did not work, so let's register a user. Okay. There we go. Okay, I made a user named Tony-san with the password of password. We're presented with an upload file section. Looks like we can upload a file. Let's just see what it allows. Okay, it allows PDF, doc, docx, SL, XLS, XLSX, and ODT. What I did was I changed it to just a simple PHP. And I don't need a reverse shell, just command execution is what I was testing for. And I changed it to .pdf because of this. So let's see. What does this give us? And we open it, it downloads the file. We don't want that. Let's link. Copy link address is what we'll do instead. And we can see where it's directing us. We see here it's directing us to this path. So we can try now for listing other files, seeing if there's some vulnerability here. So let's go back to Burp and move Burp over here. Let's clear this. So do that again. Open the Burp history. Send this to the repeater. And we just see the contents of the file. So it's not necessarily being executed. So let's try doing star.pdf. File does not exist. Available files for download. Now we can try another username. Like admin. We see file does not exist. But that means the user exists then. Because what happens if I use a user that shouldn't exist, like John? User not found. Okay, so that's a way to enumerate users here. So this username parameter could be used to enumerate valid users. And then potentially we might even be able to see files that they have that might lead us further down the rabbit hole. So we're going to save this as file. We can overwrite this one I already have. Close back out of this. We will have to update it. We see this is what it looks like here. We have to put fuzz where the username is because that's what we want to fuzz. We're trying to enumerate users. And this is what you do for ffuzz, which we're going to use. Making sure everything else looks right, we can save the file. We will now start putting together our ffuzz command. We're going to use -request. This allows us to supply a request file. We're now going to do a word list. I'm going to use seclists. Now we're going to choose the request protocol, which is going to be HTTP. We will start this and we're going to quickly end it so we can find what method we're going to use to filter out for only valid results. For this one, I think we can filter out on size. So let's do -fs for filter size. This will exclude all results that are 2,985. And this should only return us with valid results. There we go. We have 2 users so far, Amanda and admin. So going back to burp, we can change this to Amanda and see if she has files for us to view. And boom, we have a file, privacy.odt. So if we change this request, send it, we see the contents of privacy.odt. And ODT is OpenOffice or LibreOffice, similar to Microsoft's product suite, but open source, I believe. So now we can copy this as a curl request so we can save it as a file. Copy as curl command. Oh, and this actually found another user as well. So what I did is I made a users file and I put those users in there. We're going to copy that file and let's paste. Here's our command. All we're going to add is -o and we're going to save it as -privacy.odt. Okay, nano privacy.odt. And now you will have to fix this as well. For some reason it didn't work for nano, so I had to use vim. I think I forgot one line to remove. There we go. You have to remove that part as well. Now we should be good. Ta-da! We are presented with this document and it contains Amanda's password. So copy that down, write it in your notes, and we'll try and see if that is a valid login here. Boom. We are now in as Amanda. And you see, of course, what's standing out to me is this go to admin panel button. So we see that this user Amanda has admin capabilities. Now we're able to see files and their contents. So we see here, this is the admin.php, which we are on this page. So we could see here, it says if username admin Amanda, and if they're not admin or Amanda, take them to the normal login page. But because we are Amanda, we are an admin. This command right here that's getting ran, looks like this is happening when you use the backup, which is the bottom of the page here. We're able to create a backup and we just choose the password for it and it looks like it creates a backup. That's what this is referring to in this script. That's what this command is doing right here. It's doing a zip-x backups, cursive password, and we are setting the password. So there's a potential for command execution here if we try and escape this sequence. But what makes this more difficult is we see there's a function that's dedicated in removing malicious input. And so every one of these characters are bad characters. So we're going to have to make a payload that doesn't include any one of these characters, which is the ampersand, curly brackets, backticks, spaces, money, pipe, another and, or semicolons. So what comes to mind for spaces for me is the money curly brace and IFS, or money IFS, which is the internal field separator, but of course that's not possible. So we're going to have to get creative and go a different method. We're going to go back to the proxy history. We're going to make backup and let's intercept the request. I just put in the password of test. I'm going to send this to the repeater. We can stop that. And let's see what response we get. It does take a few seconds. We see it takes just a little over 2 seconds. And it just gives us all this output, which we see right here. Backup created successfully. Let's test some different payloads to try and abuse this. We can have the line pulled up here to refer to while we make our payload. This line right here. So because it starts with a double quote, we will use a double quote to try and escape and break the command. And we will then do a new line, because like when you're installing a script, for example, like we saw when we did that curl command and it was multiple lines, we can try and do something similar to that. So we're going to do %0a, which is the URL encoded version of a line break, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, you see there, I did Control-Shift-U, that un-URL encodes something. So Control-U will URL encode, Control-Shift-U decodes it, not unencode. You know what I mean. We are going to test by doing a sleep. We'll do another we'll do a %09, which is a tab, and we'll do 5. And we'll end it with a %0a. So with this, if I undo this, Control-Shift-U, actually I could just hover over it. And test sleep 5. So if there is command execution, potentially, unless my payload is wrong, this should sleep for 5 seconds, potentially. And it did. It took 7 seconds instead of taking 2. We see this permission denied error here as well, which means to me that we are breaking something, perhaps. So now let's confirm this. I mean, we have some degree of confidence that this is confirmed, but let's go one step further. We're going to do a ping command. So we'll ping ourselves 09. Again, %09 is what I'm using instead of a space. And I'm using %0a at the beginning and end of the payload to escape the command, basically. We're going to do a -C. Another %09. We're going to put 1 for a count of 1. We don't want this to run infinitely and have to revert the machine. Then we're going to put our own IP. That again. And there we go. You see here we received 2 packets coming from Nocturnal.htb to us. So now we're going to make a payload. And I like to use, what is it called? Rev shells. Okay, there we go. So we're going to change our IP to what our IP is. I'm fine with port 9000. We'll use netcat as our listener. And we want to set up a reverse shell. Just to save you guys some time, what ended up working for me was using the busybox nc-e command. So I copied this, and to a notepad, I replaced the spaces with %09s, and that's it. And that will give you this. In this case, all I have to change is my IP. And if we hover over it, you'll see the payload here. Test, double quote, new line, busybox nc, my IP address, the port I'm going to listen on, and then run shell, which we can change this to /bin/bash. Now let's make sure we're listening. Sorry about that. Blink for a second. NC-NVLP 9001. Let's spin this off. And we have connect. ID, who am I? PWD. And there, we have a shell. Now, this shell works, but it's not the best. As you can see, I can't clear my screen. I can't use my up arrows. So if you want a better shell, we're gonna have to change how we do our payload. We're gonna make a shell like this. We're gonna use that same bash one, but instead of putting it directly in the payload, we're gonna submit a curl request that reaches out to this file and executes it. So this is the payload. We're going to change our IP address, make sure the port matches. That's it for me. Then I'm going to do python 3-m. I don't have to do the dash thing. HTTP.server. That server will be listening on port 8000. Let's try this payload we got here. Taking a minute, and boom, we got our shell. Now let's stabilize our shell. Python 3-c import pty.spawn. Let's export our path, export our terminal. Set the alias for LL. Now we will background it. STTY raw -echo foreground reset. Now we should be able to clear the screen. Now over here I'll do STTY-A. Now we'll set our calls 69. Rows 35. There is a Nocturnal _ database, SQLite 3. So we'll use SQLite to dump the database, see if we can get any hashes or passwords. We gotta change into the directory first, which I believe it said where it's at. Yeah, in Nocturnal. There we go. Now we should see it. Now we can do SQLite 3 Nocturnal database. .dump. We can see hashes for these users here. The value is password. Now that we were able to escape, which was harder than them, we can now our column just broke here, but let's see if we can make this work. We're going to do select password from users. There we go. Now we have all these hashes. They look to be 32 bytes. We can copy these, but in the meantime, we can go to CrackStation, enter these hashes in. But the two that are actually relevant is Slow Motion, Apocalypse, and Cavi. So what I did was cat hashes, and I appended the values there, as you can see. Now that we have these hashes, let's see what valid users are on the machine. So let's do a cat etc passwd. We'll grep bin bash. I'm also going to fix my columns here. So we'll do s51 calls 140 rows 45. Okay, so now we can see we have a user named Tobias. So let's try and SSH as this user. Okay, his password, let's try slow motion apocalypse first. And we're in. So first, we can grab the user.txt here. There's part 1 done. Now to get to root. Let's see if he has any sudo privileges. None. Anything else in here? No. Let's see what is running. And what I see standing out to me here is a port that we didn't see on 8080. This could be another website, so I think that's what we should check. So we will exit, and we will change our command to set up port forward. So we'll do -L. We'll do the port that we want to forward to on our machine, where we want to forward it, and the target port that we're forwarding to ours. So with all of this, we should be able to access port 8081 on our port 8080. And we are presented with an ISP config page that has a login. Now, the first thing I would do is just try and log in with what credentials we already have. I still haven't pulled up here on the up top left, so let's just try Tobias in this same password. Username or password wrong. Let's now try admin. And we're in. As you can see, Tobias is the admin, and he reused the same password. Now we're in this ISP config page. We'll glance around and see what we can find, anything to reveal information about this application here. We can try looking at the source really quick, looking for version number, nope, nothing about the version there. System, update, nah, not looking helpful. Boom. The help page tells us the version is running 3.2.10. The first thing I like to do is run a search exploit, ISP config, and we don't see any that are relevant. So we will instead have to turn our attention to GitHub. I did a query like this, like github.com, ISP config, exploit. And this was the result that popped up. This one takes advantage of this CVE. You can always, and I recommend to look into the CVEs further to understand what the actual problem comes from. User input passed to the records, not properly sanitized. So we will be abusing this. We can then go to this. Always recommend reading the code, making sure it's doing what it says. But you can see this one's pretty simple, only a little bit over 100 lines. Takes three parameters, URL, username, and password. I have already downloaded it at exploit.py. You can see here it uses standard built-in libraries, nothing crazy. So we will now Python exploit.py, and as this states, go back to the prettier documentation here. There we go. We can now run host name, ID, who am I? We are root, and now we can cat the root lag That is Nocturnal done.